Tensions are still high following the chaos at the Capitol.
The federal indictment has its roots in the aftermath of the January 6th attack.
The chaos here has shaken the U.S. Capitol and the country.
Our nation's capital under a state of emergency, under a citywide lockdown.
In Congress, there were calls to create a blue-ribbon bipartisan commission.
A 9/11-style commission to look into the causes of the attack.
A bill to create a bipartisan commission faces an uphill battle in the Senate.
What was amazing was that the Senate Republicans refused to do that. To do what Congress has done in many previous incidents of great national catastrophe or crisis or controversy, which is to create a bipartisan special committee across both chambers.
Republicans in Congress, led by Senator Mitch McConnell, wouldn't support forming a commission that might go after Trump.
Leader McConnell almost instinctively goes into damage control mode. He's not necessarily going to go out on a limb when the rest of his caucus isn't going to go with him.
In the face of Republican opposition, the Democratic Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, created a committee of her own.
Morning. With great solemnity and sadness, I'm announcing that the House will be establishing a select committee on the January 6th insurrection.
The House of Representatives today did what the Senate would not, voted to create a select committee.
It was the hope of Pelosi and the Democratic majority that they'd be able to pick off at least some Republican support, that there wouldn't be that great a pushback. But in fact, there was, and in the end, only 2 Republicans voted for the formation of that committee. And in fact, those 2 Republicans, Adam Kinzinger and Liz Cheney, were the 2 Republicans who ended up serving on the committee.
The fact that Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger are the only 2 House Republicans who believe that we should know what happened on January 6th, that people should obey subpoenas from Congress, that people should provide documents when requested, and that's itself incredibly astonishing.
They would spend a year and a half examining the evidence. Tim Heaphy was the chief investigator. A former U.S. attorney, Heaphy led the independent review of the violence in Charlottesville in 2017 and was now taking on January 6th.
We ended up hiring, I think it was 14 or 15 former prosecutors, lawyers that have the skill set to interview witnesses, to digest a large amount of documents, and to sort of discern what's relevant and separate that from what's not. That skill set is developed largely by trying cases, by investigating cases in federal and local prosecutors' offices.
They conducted more than 1,000 interviews.
The House Select Committee is shifting into high gear, preparing to do battle with some pretty big names in the Trump world.
Reviewed millions of documents.
The House Committee probing the January 6th Capitol riot has issued 10 new subpoenas.
Thousands of hours of video evidence.
These subpoenas brings the focus to the actions of former President Donald Trump in the days and weeks leading up to the insurrection.
They're con people, they're con artists.
From the beginning, Trump denounced the committee.
The Select Committee on January, like these people are legitimate. Every one of them is a radical left hater.
The committee issued a subpoena to none other than former President Trump himself.
He refused to cooperate.
Trump suing the January 6th committee to block a subpoena for his testimony.
And while many of his aides did testify, others followed his lead.
Criminal contempt charges against former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows.
Peter Navarro refusing to cooperate with the January 6th committee.
The committee's final report spans 692 pages. A case against Donald Trump. A blueprint for Special Counsel Jack Smith.
We saw our work as the first step in a process and not the end of the process. It's very clear that the Select Committee laid the path down for the Department of Justice.
The January 6th case that will be heard in Judge Chutkan's courtroom in Washington, D.C. has the most striking resemblance to what unspooled itself from the January 6th committee. The basis of the indictment looks like a carbon copy of what the January 6th committee uncovered.
A lot of the evidence that we uncovered is now in the hands of the Department of Justice. I just think all what we see now is a byproduct of the work of the January Select Committee.
Benny Thompson, a longtime Democratic congressman, chaired the committee.
Benny Thompson is a Mississippi congressman, a black man who grew up during the civil rights era in Mississippi, during the last vestiges of Jim Crow. And saw how hard fought the franchise vote was for so many black Americans.
In January 6th, Thompson saw parallels.
Well, one of the symbols of Southern resistance to voting rights and equal opportunity was the Confederate battle flag. And to see that flag being waved by many of the protesters brought back those memories.
When he saw rioters storm the Capitol carrying the Confederate battle flag, essentially trying to take away the votes of the American people. That, I know, affected him profoundly, and certainly was a driving factor in the way that he led the Select Committee.
Thompson's committee had gathered a trove of information. The challenge, what to do with it.
The one thing that we knew was the information that we have is compelling. The thing we needed to do was tell that to the American people in a compelling way. So that's why we brought in a former president of ABC News.
Yeah, I got a call pretty much out of the blue from the January 6th committee. They wanted a storyteller. And while they were brilliant lawyers, storytelling for a mass audience is not what they do.
To bring in a guy like this who would think outside the box really did prove to be fruitful. And it was Goldston who really began to envision this as, in a way, a kind of mini-series, that there would be, sort of 9 episodes, and that these episodes would tackle particular themes.
Attack on the Capitol, the investigation.
The first hearing was primetime television.
As the nation is about to witness a defining moment, the first hearing before the country, the results of the January 6th investigation.
This is an extraordinary moment in American history.
When it came to that first hearing, we knew how high the stakes were.
Is about to hold its first primetime hearing.
We were either gonna, make people realize that this was important, or once you've lost them, you've lost them for good.
On the evening of June 9th, 8:01 p.m., the doors opened. My heart was beating pretty fast on June 9th. And it was a real question of, is this gonna work or not?
All right, everybody, here we go. 5 on the line, please.
I'm in this tiny control room right up the stairs from Cannon Caucus. And we count down to the start of the hearing. And at that point, what can you do?
Here we go. In 3, 2, 1.
The Select Committee to investigate the January 6th attack on the United States Capitol will be in order. Without objection.
We wanted to make sure that this was a presentation that would grab the audience and hold on to them. Chairman Thompson loved to say, it's got to pop.
To get it to pop, they had just the thing.
Donald Trump lost the presidential election in 2020. Don't believe me? Hear what his former Attorney General had to say about it.
No, just what I've been through. I had 3 discussions with the president that I can recall. One was on
former Attorney General Bill Barr.
On December 1st.
This is the Attorney General of the United States of America. For him to come forth under oath, I think was very powerful.
I made it clear I did not agree with the idea of saying the election was stolen and putting out this stuff, which I told the president was bull.
Bill Barr, who had been hated by the left and who had been beloved by Trump all the way until December of 2020, to hear him say, mincing no words, that there was all this bull that was being perpetrated by Trump made you realize that, okay, we're now about to walk into a portal of evidence that is in fact different than everything else.
Following Barr, shocking video.
Most of the footage we are about to play has never been seen. The Select Committee obtained it as a part of our investigation.
Hold the line! Hold the line! Hold the line! Hold the line! We have a breach of the Capitol! Breach of the Capitol to the upper level!
We can't hold this, we're gonna get too many people. Look at this man.
We need to hold the doors of the Capitol! I need court support! We lost the line! We lost the line! All MPDs get back! All MPDs get back up to the upper deck! All MPDs get back to the upper deck! ASAP!
In the room that moment, we had officers that had been there on January 6th. There was a real gravity that we wanted to bring to that first hearing that video really put in perspective for us there.
I don't think anyone, until that footage was shown, had really fully understood the violence of the day.
Those law enforcement personnel, here are people who are sworn to protect the Capitol, come to work on that day to do just that, and they are assaulted.
Paying special attention to the hearing, Donald Trump, who responded on his own social media platform.
The so-called rush on the Capitol was not caused by me. It was caused by a rigged and stolen election.
The committee continued laying out its evidence to the contrary.
The attack on our Capitol was not a spontaneous riot. President Trump summoned the mob, assembled the mob, and lit the flame of this attack.
Vice chair at the hearing, Liz Cheney, a lifelong Republican and rock-ribbed conservative.
Or destroyed by force the government.
I chose Liz Cheney as my vice chair. She had Republican credibility in the broader sense. So you'd take an African-American liberal and a white female conservative to lead this committee.
Liz Cheney is Republican royalty in many ways. She's the daughter of Dick Cheney, the vice president. She's very conservative. She represents Wyoming. No one would mistake her for a liberal. But she also was someone who broke very publicly with Donald Trump.
And there is no rhino in America who has thrown in her lot with the radical left more than Liz Cheney. She has gone crazy.
I will do everything I can to ensure the former president never again gets anywhere near the Oval Office.
She's been so strong on we need to have the truth about January 6th. We need to have the truth about what happened before January 6th. We can't have Trump again. He can't be president again.
I talked to her about what was motivating her, and she said that every time she sees the video of Mike Pence being rushed to safety for fear of his life on January 6th, She saw in her mind the image of her father.
Plane has just crashed into the World Trade Center here in New York City.
Oh my God. That looks like a second plane.
Dick Cheney, the vice president, being rushed away from his office in the White House to the bunker on 9/11.
It is one of the darkest days in America. Attacked in an act of terrorist war. Tremendously sad day. Insurrectionists have stormed the U.S. Capitol, and they have been cheered on by the president.
And suddenly I got it. Suddenly I got it. For her, this was what Al-Qaeda and 9/11 were to her father. To the extent that her father became really quite driven by his view of the mission to protect America after 9/11, she saw her mission the same way, to protect America from Donald Trump.
Now helping to lead the January 6th committee, Cheney was determined to lay out the case against Donald Trump.
Over multiple months, Donald Trump oversaw and coordinated a sophisticated plan to overturn the presidential election and prevent the transfer of presidential power.
In the very first hearing, she kind of laid out the theory of the case, right? The opening statement where she puts forth this multi-part plan. I think that will sound very much like Jack Smith's opening statement in the trial in March. It is a summary of how all this fits together.
In our hearings, you will see evidence of each element of this plan.
Frankly, we did win this election.
Donald Trump and his advisors knew that he had in fact lost the election. But despite this, you will see evidence that President Trump corruptly pressured state legislators and election officials to change election results.
I only need 11,000 votes. Fellas, I need 11,000 votes. Give me a break.
What you saw at that hearing, methodically laid out by Liz Cheney, showed that it wasn't just some sort of like random, off-the-cuff, impulsive actions on his part, but that there was, in fact, a strategy and a pattern and a methodology to what he was doing.
President Trump's efforts to pressure Vice President Pence to act illegally likely violated 2 federal criminal statutes.
Because if Mike Pence does the right thing, we win the election.
If I could have been a fly on the wall in the Department of Justice during that, I would certainly probably expect everybody sat up and took notice of what she said after that.
In our final hearings, you will hear how President Trump summoned a violent mob and directed them illegally to march on the United States Capitol.
We fight like hell, and if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore.
With that, the committee stands adjourned.
The hearings got the public's attention.
First primetime January 6th hearing laying the foundation for a specific case against Trump.
The House committee went into graphic detail on the results.
To put it crassly, the January 6th committee was a ratings hit.
From NBC News, January 6 revelations will, quote, blow the roof off the House.
The very first one, the primetime viewing, was at 19.4 million, which was really, really remarkable.
Huge, surprisingly huge numbers last night. That's on par with events like Sunday Night Football game. There were still multiple brand new revelations last night that took us by surprise.
But for his supporters, Trump had a different story.
The Unselect Committee of Political Hacks refuses to play any of the many positive witnesses and statements.
It's a broadside. And it's not just one broadside, it is a continuous series of broadsides.
Bill Barr was a weak and frightened attorney general who was always being played and threatened by the Democrats.
It's just so relentless, it's so constant, it's so loud that in parts of MAGA America, that MAGA barrage drowns out anything else.
Warmongering and despicable human being Liz Cheney, who is hated by the...
And on the conservative airwaves, they amplified Trump's message.
Every news network in this country, but this one, faithfully surrendered its entire primetime lineup.
The effect was North Korean. Every channel the same.
a full-on Hollywood multimedia extravaganza
to prosecute Trump with this show trial, with this kangaroo court.
I don't think really by any large stretch can you characterize it as bipartisan. And this is, I guess, a consequence of bigger issues about the evenly divided country that we're in and extreme partisanship in the political process.
Can they show us one damn sentence in the hundreds of thousands of documents that they have collected, the 1,000 witnesses they've had, anything, anywhere that links Donald Trump to directing or ordering an attack on the Capitol building? Where is it?
If you're talking to somebody who's deep in MAGA America, they didn't pay attention to the January 6th Commission. They were told not to pay any attention to it, that whatever was going to come out, it was going to be fake or fake news. And this is the way a lot of Americans live their lives. It's not just red Americans, blue Americans as well. We live in bubbles. And this is the way millions upon millions of Americans live.